Welcome to episode 9 of the Bitwig Studio Basic series. Today we're going to take a look at the drum machine of Bitwig Studio. We're going to look at the routing, multi-outputs, and how you can get groove and shuffle into your beats. My name is Matthias, this is Morning Dew Media, and let's take the tour. Okay, the drum machine of Bitwig Studio. There has been many questions on how you do the routing for multi-outputs, etc. with the drum machine. So let's just get our container here, the drum machine. Okay, so here we have an empty drum machine. It contains slots. You can see here C1, C#1, and D, etc. So we can fill that with some samples to begin with. But first, if we look at the mixer by pressing Tab, you can see that we only have one track here. It doesn't show us any outputs for the slots. But if we start to add samples to this drum machine, something magical will happen. Yeah, we can take that as our snare and then find some good kick in here. I'm using samples from the Pep Kit 1. They are also included within the Producer Essentials pack for Bitwig Studio. There's a link here in the description if you want to check out this sound pack for Bitwig Studio. Let's take that hard kick for our C. And now we have one kick and one snare. And now if you look at the mixer here, you can see that we have two small arrows pointing down here. And that's actually the icon for multi outputs. So if we press that icon, it will bring up the individual outputs for our kick and our snare. And you can also see this line above here, the green line above here, that says that all these channels are contained within this drum machine. So that's a good way to see how things are routed. Because if we add, say, an organ here, you can see that has its own color at the top here. So these are all subgroups of our drum machine. Let's add some more samples to this kit. Maybe a little clap. And yeah, we need some kind of cymbal. A little bit of extra percussion, and we need some hi-hat. And drop, of course, if we want some. Yeah, we can add some guitar slaps. And as I drag samples here, they will create a sampler within each slot in this drum machine. Now, if we expand the multi-outputs of this drum machine, you can see that we have all these individual slots as individual outputs. Okay, so let's finish this up with some hi-hats. Here we have a closed hi-hat. We can actually make it a little bit shorter. Something like that. Let's add an open hi-hat too. And increase the length. Now if we want to create choking groups, because you probably want that open hi-hat to be closed when you first play the open and then play a closed hi-hat, like on a real drum kit. So what you do here is you press this closed hi-hat slot and right click and select choke targets. And we will select the open hi-hat. And that means that if we play, it will choke the open hi-hat. Yeah, so that's choking groups. Very easily done here in Bitwig Studio. Okay, so let's press Tab to go back to our arrangement view, and let's build a little pattern. Just going for a simple beat here. I have tempo at 95, so we will include some hi-hats and just double this up. I can select the part here, and here we have a region select, and you can press Command D to duplicate that region. Yeah, so that's a pretty straightforward little maybe an open hi-hat here. I'm just programming a little bit so we have something to work with. Okay, so now it's playing straight 8 notes. But we want probably to have some groove into this beat. But how do we do that? Well, if we press this MIDI part and press the shuffle, still we don't have any shuffle, but that's because we have to activate the global shuffle. Press this play button here, and here we have the groove and enable groove. And here we can also adjust the shuffle amount. So let's play this beat and listen. Yeah, that's... Now we have some groove into this. We need to increase the release and decay of this cymbal. And maybe we can do a little bit fun with the hi-hats here on this part. With something like this. Let's duplicate this. We have a little bit longer loop and disable the cymbal for this part. And if you wonder why a sample is triggered at a maybe lower pitch or something, it might be that this toggle key tracking is activated, because that will set the sample to the key that you press. But if you want it to be the raw pitch of the actual sample, you have to disable this key tracking. So now I can drag down the pitch again. Okay, so that's now we've looked at the multi-outputs and how you can add samples to the slots. Now, how about mixing this and adding effects to our drum machine? Well, like in all the good old DAWs, you usually go to your mixer here and start to add effects and stuff. But I rather just work in this arrangement view and the device view. Because as you can see, if we press a kick, we bring up the sample of this kick slot, and we can also add effects at this level. Let's go to the snare here and maybe add some reverb to this snare. Let's use the Valhalla Room. Now if we go back to the mixer, you can see that we have successfully added a reverb to this, the Valhalla reverb to this snare. But keep in mind that if you add the reverbs to the effect slot of this sampler device, look at what happens here in this snare track. If we move the reverb and drag it into the sampler effect slot, it disappears from this track channel. And that's because the reverb now resides within the actual sampler. So keep that in mind if you want to be able to edit your effects within the mixer also. So keep the samples at the slot view. So they are contained within this blue line rather than within this effect slot. That makes it easier if you want to go ahead and work like the old ways with the mixer. So that's something to keep in mind while working with the drum machine. Okay, so let's continue and add some mixing to this drum track. If we press the track level here, we will be at this sound level of the whole kit. So here we can just maybe add some compressor to add a little bit of grit. So we can add some compression here. So what I want to do is add a little bit of parallel compression to this drum kit. It's very easy in Bitwig Studio. Just press the plus sign and add a container, the chain container. Because the chain container has a mix knob, so you can control the amount of this effect that's in this chain, this container. So now I've added this very deep, hard compression. And now we can dial it back and apply a little bit of that compression. A little bit too much. And then we probably also want a peak limiter at the end of this chain to see where we have the top peaks of the kit. Seems fine. And then I usually add an EQ before this, before the compressors actually, to get rid of the absolute lows here, because we probably want some 808 bass under this. And maybe a little bit of high pass. Let's add some reverb to this Dumbe. Dumbe, it's a kind of side, at the side of a, played at the side of a tom. Maybe add a little bit of delay to that too. Go to the delay 2. You can also solo. If you only want to hear one of these drum slots. And let's go to the mixer and see here. Yeah, we have the delay and the room reverb and our master chain for this drum bass. Maybe add a little bit of filter here to the master bass, so we can do some high pass and low pass. Yeah, so that's how you work with the drum machine within the Bitwig Studio. Please shoot me any comments or questions on the drum machine in the comment section below. All the samples used in this video are contained from the Producer Essentials pack and the PEP kit. Please subscribe, like if you like, and write some kind feedback in the comment section below. My name is Matthias, and see you in the next video. Bye!
Give it a little time.